Hi everyone, it's Stefania here from Rise Above Your Limits. I'm coming on a video today because I have a special story to share with all of you. On Wednesday, I was asked to perform a talk about my business. I work as an empowerment coach, and my passion is always the one to bring out of women empowerment in a form that is to transform their biggest weakness into their sorry for the shaking into their superpower. And what I found out, and it's not of course the first time, it's like that I was electrified a couple of days before. Oh my god, I'm going to give this talk and it's going to be amazing. But when the day arrived, I was actually freaking out. All my vulnerabilities, all the voices inside my head that were suggesting that I wasn't good enough, I'm not a good speaker, or English is not my first language, so I should be probably worried about that. They were just suggesting to pull out and to stop. And I had many moments before the talk where I thought, well, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I should go back, hiding. But then once more, I realized that those vulnerabilities were there for a reason. Sometimes, in the contrast of negative voices that we hear inside our head, guess what? We recognize and we remember who we truly are. But there is an important passage that we don't need to forget when we feel these voices, when we hear these voices inside our head. And the process is to recognize and accept that these voices, these insecurities that most of the times cause and bring us into a low self-esteem mode are important and are there for a reason. Of course, if there is a real chance to be rejected, humiliated, or abused, why would a person take a chance, right, to give a talk? And so those voices are actually a protective mode that we all store inside. But we all, I believe, need to harness these vulnerabilities from a place of power, but also from a place of authenticity. So when I arrived to the talk, guess what I did? The first thing I remember I said to the audience, it was a beautiful networking group of, 8, 10 business plus the organizer and plus my boyfriend that was there, to support me. And the first thing I said, I came up with was, I'm actually freaking out. I'm not feeling ready. And I'm more scared that all of you just go home and thinking that Stefania knows nothing about empowerment and that probably you think I'm not an expert or knowledgeable enough to host this talk. But guess what? I did it anyway. And the moment I could affirm my vulnerabilities from a place of power, I showed my authentic self. And immediately there was a sense of community in the room. And I'm not saying this, of course, to brag about myself, but it was very palpable that, people were all together. They were listening to me. They were laughing when I was laughing. And there was a smile in their eyes and on their faces that told me that we were all connected for a moment. And so I realized, we know these things, but knowing things in the head and feeling things in the body sometimes are completely two different experiences. But having that feeling in my body while I was talking, that I was really guiding the audience into my experiences. And that was possible because I honored my vulnerabilities and I gave the audience a hint that vulnerabilities and strength can coexist. And then you can be powerful and insecure at the same time. And yes, you can still take an action by feeling vulnerable. But I think if we don't acknowledge, if we don't admit, if we don't accept and recognize our vulnerabilities where they are in our body and admit that, those to the audience, whoever we are talking to, we are missing an important moment of connection. So for me, empowerment is not just getting out there as a badass as women sometimes want to affirm themselves above all in business. Yes, it's also about that, but at a very core level, empowerment is meeting our insecurities where they are, accepting these voices, because most of the times they come from trauma, most of the times come from difficult situations in the past where something went wrong and we created a belief that was just exposed onto our true identity, onto the truth of who we are. But just because the truth of who we are is a powerful, beautiful, strong, and empowered women, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that these voices still have a place and can be used as a reminder to really double check, is it safe for me to give this talk? Is that okay? Yes, it is. And then those voices can be harnessed in a way to foster connection between me, between me and the parts that are harder to be accepted. And guess what? By doing that, we pave the way for other individuals to do the same. And that's how we create humanity. That's how we foster communities, and we become human once more. So for me, it was an incredible opportunity. And most of the times we don't realize how important negative voices and negative emotions are, like anxiety, like depression, like fear or panic, before, of course, giving a talk and being exposed to an audience that can, of course, judge us. But most of the times they don't. Most of the time, the people that judge us are ourselves. So for me, negative emotions are such an important part of our identity, not to state who we truly are, but to realize that every time we are outside our comfort zone, it's undeniable that all our insecurities, all our unresolved stuff will come up, because we're simply exposing ourselves in uncharted territory, and we don't know what's going to happen because probably we have never put ourselves there before. So negative emotions is just a reminder, oh wow, I'm growing. But we need a mind that is capable of dealing with the emotions from the body. We need a mind that doesn't panic when the body panics, because maybe it's feeling something that, of course, needs to be felt. But there is a difference between feeling an emotion and acting upon that emotion, because me acting upon those emotions and those negative voices could have meant I'm not giving this talk. While I harness that power, that weakness, I transform that vulnerability into a power and into a tool to foster connection between me and between me and the audience. So my invite and my message for you today is like, let's be less perfect. Let's be more vulnerable and more authentic. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next time. Bye for now.